In this video, we're going to talk about how to evaluate markets to make sure that we find the most profitable locations to launch a short-term rental property. By the end of this video, you're going to know what types of properties with how many bedrooms, bathrooms, the square footage, what types of amenities, and whether or not you should go towards a vacation destination or just primary locations with large populations in busy cities. You're going to know from A to Z exactly what you need to do to make sure you find a property that will maximize your ROI. So let's jump right in. Now, before we look into the data and determine which areas are the most profitable, the number one thing we have to do is look at the regulation, because you can have an area with an amazing property that's going to make you 2, 3, 4K a month in cash flow. But what if you can't even get a permit in that city? So the first thing we must do, ladies and gentlemen, is verify the regulation. You don't want to put all your financial resources, time, and energy to launching an Airbnb that's going to be short-lived, where you have to shut it down in 6 months. So here's exactly how you learn what the regulation is in any area. Also, it's important for you to know that regulation is not by county, state, country. It is by the city. Every city has their own regulation. So step one is you go on Google and you type the following words: building department in the city of, and then you fill in the blank. For example, building department, the city of Austin, Texas; building department, Los Angeles, California; building department, Miami, Florida. And you're going to see that the phone number is going to come up for the building department in that city. And what you want to do is call that phone number and then ask them the following question: hello, what is your short-term rental regulation? And they're going to tell you whether or not you can get a permit. If you can get a permit, you're going to ask, how long does it take? How much does it cost? My recommendation is only look at launching Airbnbs. It doesn't matter if you're going to buy, sublease, or start a management company or grow an existing business. You only should launch Airbnbs in cities where you can obtain a permit. This way, you know that you launch that property one time, and for the next 3, 4, 5, 10 years, you can have a successful automated short-term rental. Now, what if the city says, hey, Jorge, we actually do not allow short-term rentals in the city? Every once in a while, I get a DM on Instagram. By the way, make sure you guys follow me on IG. And people will message me, hey, Jorge, the city of XYZ is saying that they don't allow short-term rentals. What should I do? How do I go around it? And my response is, you don't. There's no way to obtain a permit in a city where they are not issuing permits. You only should focus your time, energy, and resources on areas where you know you can have an Airbnb for many, many years to come. Don't make your life complicated, guys. I want to launch an Airbnb, one property, one time, and have it operate for the next 5 to 10 years and make way more cash flow than if it was a long-term rental. And I'll break that down in another video. Once you have found the cities that allow you to get a short-term rental permit, the second thing that you want to do is go into AirDNA, and they have a section called the Rentalizer. In the Rentalizer section, what you want to do is plug in the address of the property that you want to launch on Airbnb. And what's going to happen is you're going to get a projection for the next 12 months of revenue based on similar properties in the area. So for example, let's say you have a property that you want to arbitrage or buy or launch on the management side, and the address is 123 Main Street, San Diego, California. Plug in that address into the Rentalizer section, and it is going to tell you what the projection is revenue-wise over the next 12 months. It's also going to tell you what your ADR is, your average daily rate, or your nightly price, as well as the occupancy. And it's going to give you this data based on similar properties in the area and based on those properties' performance over the last 12 months. Now, the rule of thumb is that you want to generate $2 of revenue for every $1 that you have in a monthly payment. So if your rent is $3,000 a month, you want to be able to generate $6,000 a month in gross revenue. If your mortgage payment is $3,000 a month, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, we call that PITI, and that total payment is $3,000 a month, you want to generate $6,000 a month on Airbnb. It doesn't mean that $3,000 of profit, but after you pay for utilities, management, whether it's in-house or hire a third party. Now, it doesn't mean that if you're paying $3,000 in a mortgage payment, you generate $6,000. It doesn't mean that that $3,000 is your profit. You're still going to have other expenses. From time to time, you're going to have maintenance, repairs, in-house management costs as you start scaling, software software expenses, utilities, but you want to be able to generate $2,000 a month in net profit in order for this to make sense. Because the reality is short-term rentals are not a passive income strategy. Short-term rentals are actually considered an active income, which is amazing because of the tax benefits that you get, which I'll talk about in another video. Another thing I recommend when you're utilizing the rentalizer inside of AirDNA is to make sure you look at the other properties in the area for a few reasons. You want to see what the competition is, and here are some of the important metrics that you want to look at. How many people on average are these other similar comparable properties? How many people are they hosting at one given time? Meaning, are they hosting up to 6, up to 7 guests, up to 8, up to 9, up to 10, 11? How many people do they allow to rent? How many people are they allowing to stay at any given time as far as the amount of groups of people? So how many people are they hosting, right? Number 2, what types of amenities do these properties have? Do they have a game room, a pool, a jacuzzi, a spa, a sauna, a Tesla charger? Do they have board games? What types of amenities do they have? The other thing you want to look at is how close are those properties compared to yours that you want to launch to the main attractions in that area. Maybe it's a beach, a downtown, a convention center, a wedding venue, hospitals, universities. You want to look at all those different metrics to see what kind of competitive advantage can you create over all of these properties. So for example, let's say there's 3 properties in the area that are very comparable to yours, but none of those properties have a jacuzzi. Well, if you add a jacuzzi to your property and maybe you take an incredible picture of the backyard with some Edison lights, a jacuzzi, some games in the backyard, maybe there's a covered patio, very nice landscaping, and that jacuzzi becomes your main picture in your listing. In fact, you'll add in the description, because remember, there is an SEO, search engine optimization component to your Airbnb listings. Like if I go on Google right now and I put Airbnb with a jacuzzi and a game room in the city of San Diego, California, I will find properties on Google that have used those keywords in their title, in their description, in the description of the photos. So you want to utilize that to your advantage. So you want to put that you have a jacuzzi in the title, in the description of the pictures, and that is going to make your property stand out because you are offering something that the competition is not. So figure out what is your competitive advantage that you can create over other similar listings. A few other things to consider when it comes to evaluating markets and what's going to give you the best return on investment. Now, if you are buying a property, you're always going to get the highest ROI, the best return on investment with the least amount of money out of pocket. And this requires a whole different mindset shift compared to the Dave Ramsey mentality where he says, pay off your mortgage, put a big down payment, because the Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Jorge Contreras mindset is use leverage. As long as you don't over leverage yourself, leverage is a very powerful wealth creation tool. So here's my recommendation. If you're going the buying route, you want to make sure that you first get pre-qualified by your lender to see what your purchasing power is. And if you're able to buy a property with an FHA loan, which is 3.5% down, or a 5% conventional loan, both of these options are considered owner occupied, and they're going to give you a better return on investment than if you were to buy a property with a 15 or 20% down. Now, one of the caveats here is that you have to live in the property for at least 12 months before you rent out the entire property. So here is a house hacking strategy that I've been using since 2011. Imagine you buy a single family home that has 4 or 5, maybe even 6 bedrooms, at the very minimum 3, and at least 2 bathrooms. And then you implement what they call a junior ADU, a JADU. With a junior ADU, that means that you can legally split an existing home into 2 units. And one of the advantages of doing this is that you can Airbnb one side while living on the other side, but still maintaining privacy for you and your family, because each unit would have their own independent doors and kitchens and bathrooms and bedrooms, and there would be nothing that you would share with the Airbnb unit from the inside of the property. It would essentially be like having a duplex, but it's still considered a single family home junior ADU. And because you are creating this additional unit within the existing structure, you don't need any engineering because it's already already been engineered to be a habitable home. This is one of the best ways to get on the path to creating financial freedom because most people's largest expense is where they live, whether it's their mortgage payment or if they are renting. So imagine if your mortgage payment is $4,000 a month, but if you can generate $4,000 a month from the Airbnb and you live on the other side, now you're living mortgage payment free. What if you were previously renting for $3,000 a month? Well, you just eliminated a $3,000 a month, $36,000 a year mortgage payment that now stays in your pocket. And you wouldn't pay any taxes on those $36,000 of gross income from Airbnb, because if you have an expense of $36,000 per year, but you also have $36,000 of income, that's considered a wash. There is no profit. So that would be one of the advantages of buying a property with owner occupied financing, which, by the way, you also get a lower interest rate, which means a lower payment as long as you can live in the property for 12 months, can implement this house hacking strategy. Another strategy when it comes to the financing option is utilizing what we call a vacation home strategy. You are allowed to have a second home, which is your vacation home. And the type of financing allows you to put down only 10%, which again, from an ROI perspective, 10% is better than 15, 20, 25, 30%. Now, typically, depending on the state and depending on the lender, this property will need to be in somewhat of a vacation destination area because it has to make sense for it to be a vacation home. So it could be your vacation home that you intend to use for 3, 4, 5, 6 times out of the year, and then you can technically rent it out for the remainder of the time. Now, also keep in mind that you go to a big bank like Wells Fargo, Chase, Bank of America, they're going to have a lot of limitations when it comes to financing if you don't fit in their little box. My recommendation is don't go to those big banks. Instead, find a mortgage broker in your area that you can find on Yelp, Google, or social media, and they have more strategic financing options that can allow you to implement these strategies with less requirements. Keep in mind that if you buy a property out of state, you'll automatically need to put 20% down because it's going to be considered an investment property. And if that's what makes sense for you, then great. Other options I previously mentioned will give you a better return on investment. By the way, if you guys are enjoying this video, make sure you guys smash that like button. It really makes a difference. It lets other people on YouTube know that they should also watch this video. So I appreciate your support in advance. The last thing that I want to share with you guys is that cheaper is not better. So many people make the mistake of going into a secondary or a tertiary market because it's cheaper. They're going to get a lower purchase price or a lower rent, and they feel like, okay, this is cheaper, I'm just going to go there, not realizing that in the end, they're going to have a lower return on investment, not as much cash flow, and they would have been better off going for the better property in a better location where they can make more revenue to offset the additional cost and additional investment that was required. If there's anything else that you feel that I might have missed in this video, please let me know in the comment section. I would like your guys' support in helping other people here on this channel maximize their knowledge so they can maximize their profits when it comes to Airbnb. Make sure you guys subscribe, hit that notification bell, and check out one of my other videos before you guys go anywhere. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.